So we need to talk about what's coming this week. So we've been looking at plus ups. We've been talking about these different infrastructure bills. We've been talking about will we see another round of stimulus checks? And so we need to look at the calendar to kind of figure out when these things might play out. And so I put out a calendar probably, about 2 weeks ago. And I want to go back to that calendar. We're going to look at some of the different possibilities that we could see in the coming weeks. And so let me show you the calendar really quick here. So let's open this up. So what we're looking at right now in May, and the reason that I have all this right here, put a highlight on all that, is because the plus ups, these plus ups that we're looking at, they're happening, and the electronic payments are going out on Wednesday, right? So we saw some go out on the 12th. We saw some go out on the 5th. We will see more go out on the 19th. Now, what's really important when it comes to these plus ups is we need to look at the 17th, because that is when you have to have your taxes in. So you need to file your taxes by that date. And so you will have some people, and they might not receive anything on the 19th, but potentially on the 26th, you might have some people who they're either unbanked, they don't have information. The IRS doesn't have information to send out stimulus checks to them. And so I encourage everyone, if you have not received a stimulus check, file your taxes. Even if you do not make over that threshold, you don't make enough, still file your taxes. That way they can get the information they need and they can send out a stimulus check to you. So it would be to your benefit to do that. You can go to a tax professional and find out if this is something that you should be doing. But I strongly encourage you to file your taxes if you have not received a stimulus check at this point. So the 17th, very, very important date there. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about what we're going to see when it comes to the next bill, okay? Because we have some stuff going on when it comes to bills, okay? So we already know the American Jobs Plan is what they're discussing right now. President Biden, Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they all had a meeting last week. And in that meeting, they talked about what's coming next when it comes to this bill. And what we're thinking and what has already been expressed to us is that we're looking at an $8 billion infrastructure bill, around that number. Okay, we know that Senator Coons wants an $8 billion, or thinks that $8 billion is acceptable. Mitch McConnell. So you have Senator Coons, who is a Democrat. You have Mitch McConnell, who is a Republican, and they've agreed upon that number, kind of the top line number of $8 billion. So that's what we're looking at. Now, we know Senator Capito, she also met with the president, and her proposal is around $568 billion. Okay, so that's what we're looking at right now when it comes to an infrastructure bill. And the reason that I'm talking about all this is because this is all going to lead into the possibilities of another round of stimulus checks and the possibility of more tax credits. And so that's why it's important to kind of lay this out. So we have the American Jobs Plan. We also have the American Families Plan. That's going to be another bill, another infrastructure bill, but the human infrastructure bill. And that bill, you could see some stuff in there. You could see stimulus checks in there. You could see the raise for Social Security. Some other things might be in that American Families Plan. So let me illustrate this for you, because I'm a visual learner, so it just helps me when I can visualize things. But if you look at the first bill here, so if you can get that signed off by the president, and it's bipartisan, so you have both Dems and Republicans for it. So we're looking in the Senate, we're looking at 60 votes. If you can get 60 votes in the Senate, then now we're looking at a situation where part of the two plans has already been approved, and you don't have to go with budget reconciliation. And what that will do is that will allow you, so the American Families Plan, that will allow the American Families Plan to go through using budget reconciliation. So, and this is a revise, okay? So we already have for 2021, we already have budget reconciliation out there. Okay. What they'll do is they'll revise that. And if they revise it, then now you have another budget reconciliation that they can use. Okay. So they use budget reconciliation for the American Families Plan. And if they can use budget reconciliation for the American Families Plan, that one revision, well, now we're looking at 2022. There need to be a budget reconciliation for that, or at least they need to address the budget at that point. And this is not far away. We're talking about September, because we're looking at fiscal year will end September 30th. And so they're going to have a new budget, and they could use budget reconciliation for that. So the 2022 budget reconciliation. So if that is the case, this will open up the opportunity, because we'll already have had this done and this done. So both infrastructure bills will be complete. And so now they can look into maybe a stimulus package. Okay, so that is what could happen. We could see another stimulus package at this point. They could use budget reconciliation in order to get that done. And basically, they're going to be looking at Senator Manchin. What does Senator Manchin approve of, basically, because he's the moderate in the room. So he's the one that's kind of dictating what's going on. Right now, Senator Manchin is carrying a lot of power because of the fact that he is the one that will probably push back when it comes to things. Kristen Sinema is another senator that might give some pushback as well. But that's where we are right now. So we could look at another stimulus package, and they could use budget reconciliation for the 2022 budget. And then on top of that, they'll have a revision. Okay, so we know 2022, they could go with budget reconciliation. They can do that in September, and then they can do another revise. And if they do another revise, well, then guess what? Now you have another budget reconciliation they can use, and they can use that for something like the Social Security reform. So if they want to reform Social Security, which I think needs to happen, and I'm pretty sure they're going to address this, but at that point, they can revise Social Security, which could mean stuff like a raise to Social Security. They're already going to need to raise more money with Social Security, so they're going to have to figure that out because they're going to be running into some problems when it comes to 2030, I think 2032 or 2035, where the trust fund will run out, and then now people will only be able to receive about 79% of the Social Security that they're receiving now. So they're going to take a huge cut if they don't do anything about the current situation with Social Security. So this is all the stuff that we're looking at. But the key here, and the reason that President Biden is focused on trying to make this first infrastructure bill, the roads, bridges, broadband, the reason that he wants to make that bipartisan is because it sets up the rest of this stuff. Because if you can make that bipartisan, you're saving budget reconciliation, and you can use budget reconciliation for the human infrastructure plan, which, like I said, human infrastructure, they can still add some of this stuff. They can add some tax credits there, stimulus checks and stuff like that. That could go in the American Families Plan. But the only way that I think that they would even consider doing that is if they can get this first infrastructure bill through without using budget reconciliation. And that will open up more opportunities for them. And then you also have to think, we're looking at an election year. Election year next year, 2022. So because that will be an election year, they're going to want to get some stuff done. They're going to want to show that they're doing something right before the election. And so they might save one of the budget reconciliations just for that, just so they know that, look, push comes to shove, if we can't get anything done, we could at least use that budget reconciliation and push something through in the hopes that it will help them when it comes to the election, right? And we saw what happened with former President Trump when we were thinking, okay, stimulus checks have to come before the election, right? I mean, no politician would allow that to happen where they're not gonna move forward with the stimulus, or like when at that time it would be stimulus checks. They're not going to move forward with stimulus checks right before an election. And we saw that very thing happen, right? And so you could be in a situation where you get even more pushback from Republicans next year because they don't want anything to go through because they want to win back the House, which is probably the more likely scenario. They win back the House, and they might win back the House and the Senate in 2022, which would change everything when it comes to getting anything done. I mean, we would see 2 years of nothing getting done, because you would have that split. You'd have President Biden in the White House, and then you would have both chambers, the House and the Senate, being Republican, so nothing would get done. All right, so that's what we're looking at right now. And the other important dates that we need to focus on is around July 1st. I'm saying around July 1st because we do not have the exact date yet, but around July 1st, we're looking at the child tax credit. So that will start rolling out, and that will go on for 6 months. And so the idea here is, depending on how old your child is, you'll be receiving either $300 or $250 a month. If that's the way that you want to have it structured, you'll receive that every month for 6 months. And then at the end of the year, when you move into the next year, when we move into 2022, when you file that 2021 tax return, you can claim the rest of that money. So it's either going to be $1,500 or $1,800, depending on how old your child is. And I did a whole video about that. I'll post a link in the description so you guys can check that out. But that's what we're looking at right now. So the real focus right now is that infrastructure bill. That first infrastructure bill, if they can make that bipartisan, now they can move forward with some other things, and it will open up the opportunity to do some more, another stimulus package if needed, and things like that. Okay, so now I want to do something a little bit different. We're going to start doing the tweet of the day. So I want to show you Robert Reich. He's an economist, and he is the former labor secretary for President Clinton. And so what he's saying here is he's saying, how about instead of pumping trillions into endless war machines, we provide people with actual security, food, shelter, and healthcare. So a good statement, right? I mean, we spend a lot of money at war. We spend a lot of money in other countries. How about bringing the troops back home, which that is the plan, and using that money, that's those same trillions of dollars, to help the American people. And so I think there's even more and more of a push for that, and we'll have to see. I mean, we're always talking about we're out of money, we don't have money, our kids are going to have to pay for this. I mean, that's always the argument, but we never really look at some of the problems, some of the places where we're spending way too much money. And if we're spending a lot of money in other countries and not spending it on our own people and investing on the American people, that's a problem. And we have to get past that. I understand war is necessary sometimes, but when we're in a situation like this, we've been in a pandemic, we've had troops overseas for decades. They need to come home. And we need to use that money to reinvest in the American people, reinvest in our country. And that means infrastructure, and that means more stimulus packages, and that also means more tax credits for the American people and things like that. So I want to know what you guys think. So in the comment section, let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.